Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
We are here today at the B2B Marketing Forum in Boston, and I'm talking to Samantha Stone. She's the founder of the Marketing Advisory Network. Samantha, how you doing?
Excellent. So glad we're connecting in person this time.
I see you so much online, and so it's fantastic to get to hang out with you here today. So your talk is on Friday, and we were just talking a little bit before I hit record about what your talk's going to be, and it's really around how do we choose the marketing technology that's really going to have an impact on revenue. And you've got some really interesting ideas on this, but talk to us a little bit about why is this something that we're not doing correctly currently?
It's such an important point because increasingly we have, somewhere between 10 and 30% of our budgets are spent on technology today in marketing. Mm-hmm. It didn't used to be that way, but we are investing a lot of money and a lot of people into technology, and we're doing it wrong. And I know we're doing it wrong because if you look at the data, it shows that we're only using about 3% of the technology we've already bought. So not the technology we could have. The places we have already spent money, we are just using very, very little of what we've already licensed. And so that tells me something is really, really broken. And I see that from the data, and I see it anecdotally when I talk to clients as well. When we go in, I was teaching a social media workshop a couple months ago. And in preparation for that, I spoke to the people who would be our students, and we polled them, and we asked them a whole bunch of questions, one of which is, what tools will you use? Came back. Was about to walk in the session, and the person who had brought us in pulled me inside and said, I want you to know, we have licenses to this social media tool. And I said, but nobody knows that. You're not using it. She goes, I know. She says, we don't even know how to log in. Our company has bought it, and our group has no idea how to log in, let alone actually use it, right? Wow. It's crazy. Yeah. But it's actually a very common challenge. They have a person buy something, they use it for their purpose. It never gets permeated through the rest of the organization. We also have ways where we buy a product for a particular purpose, and we use those one or two features that were our urgent need, and that tool has this rich capability, and we just simply don't use most of it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're obviously looking at data, you're talking to a lot of your clients, you know we're doing it wrong, so how do we fix it?
Yeah. It's shockingly easy to fix. And that is, we've got to remember there's three things that we forget to do, right? So we forget that whenever we make a system decision, there are a lot of dependencies about whether we're doing it. There's data that has to come in the system. There's IT security protocols we have to follow. There are systems that we have to send information to. And we sometimes forget about the complexity of the environment this tool is going to. And we do it more and more often now because there's all these cloud-based systems. They set you up, and in theory, you're up and running in 15 minutes. But in reality, your data and your other systems aren't talking to each other. So we have to stop forgetting that. Okay. We also have to stop chasing shiny new objects, right? The tool du jour is, I want artificial intelligence. Yeah. So every technology out there is now saying, well, we have artificial intelligence. And to a certain extent, that might be true. But we don't need to chase artificial intelligence. What we need to chase is a business problem we're trying to solve. And the way to really get around all of these obstacles is for us to take a step back and think about, what are we trying to do? Let's not chase the technology. Let's write down, What is the business outcome we're trying to address or the opportunity we want to go after? Let's bring together a cross-functional group of people and let's start there. Then from that being defined with a pretty rigid process, we go out and we say, okay, technology folks, this is what we're trying to do. Show me you can do it or not. And then we get to make an assessment about it. And not forget to first start with what we already have. Oftentimes we can actually do something we didn't know about simply by changing the way we operate within an existing marketing automation tool or a CRM system or something else.
So is there an example? I mean, I love that the simplicity of start with the problem.
Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it?
But you said that you had mentioned there being, a process for how do you identify the problem that we're going to try to tackle. Can you talk to us a little bit about what should that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give you a little bit of context. So I was at a client, and they brought me in. They had spent 18 months trying to solve a big marketing problem around data. And they had been working with the IT team, and they were just completely frustrated. IT was not building them the system they needed. They couldn't get off the ground. IT was frustrated because they kept saying marketing won't tell us what they need. And so IT actually came to me. They found me through some referrals and talking to a bunch of people. And they said, we need a translator between IT and marketing. Please help me translate. And literally within 2 meetings, I was like, here's your problem. I'm not magical. I could take the step back and I listened to what the business problem we were trying to solve is. Now, in 2 weeks, this is a big, complex organization. The project was not done, but we spent about 6 weeks doing requirements gathering. We put together a cross-functional group of people that were made up of users, made up of people who would consume output of the system who may never log into it, and people who needed to put connections or data into the system. And I observed the business environment where people would be using that system, and I sat side by side with those people and understood what they do. And we went through a pretty rigorous product requirements prioritization process, and we wrote down, here's all the things we can possibly do. What's mandatory? What's optional? And it's basic block and tackling, very similar to how our product management teams design products and services. They go through a very similar process. We have to do that in a very structured way when we buy technology and treat it like a project and treat it like something that we want to have a defined outcome, a defined time frame around.
No, I love it. And that example, you stole my next question. I was going to ask about an example of what kind of walking through this process looks like, but that makes perfect sense. If there's somebody listening to this, Samantha, they want to stay connected with you or they want to maybe dive deeper on this, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Absolutely. Best way to reach me is samantha.stone@marketingadvisorynetwork.com. They can also go to unleashpossible.com, and there's links to content and blogs where I've talked about this. There's probably a link or two in there around a version of this presentation I've done before. So lots of ways to learn more. And I hope they do, because I think we are inefficient in how we do this, yet we're making big investments. So it's time for us to sort of change our orientation.
I love it. And if you have not purchased Samantha's book, Unleash Possible, make sure to go to unleashpossible.com and get that. It's also on Amazon and what?
It is. It's on Amazon, Kindle, print. I still like old school books and turning pages. I can't help it. I love that. So it's available there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you or someone you know would be an incredible guest for the B2B Growth Show, email me at jonathan@sweetfishmedia.com and let us know. We love connecting with B2B executives, and we love sharing their wisdom and perspective with our audience.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.